communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Hey, love. You say you need someone to be there for you, to love you all night long. It's kind of funny, but I don't think you have to look no further, because I'm right here, and I'm ready to do all the things your man would do. Tell me what kind of man.
Okay, we're in here vibing, Lil Joe. I have to be honest, whenever I hear that song, I think of Don't Be a Menace While You're Drinking Your juice.
You're so funny.
I do. I know. And I think about that scene from the movie. And that is not, I feel like, the accurate representation of such a great song, but it makes me laugh. So it's funny. You are in hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. I am joined by my weekly contributor, Trent Jackson, Trent the artist. And hour 2, we're going to get into some things. We do talk about culture and lifestyle topics. And narcissism is a word I feel that's been thrown around quite a bit, especially in social media. One of the downsides, I guess it's a positive and a negative, of social media is that not only do we get to see a varied number of opinions and thoughts from all around, we also, are introduced to different topics and different narratives surrounding life via social media, the TikTok analysis and stuff. But that can be a double-edged sword, because people sometimes ascribe attributes and conditions to things that aren't there. They're not professionally tapped in, but we're going to discuss narcissism. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But before we get into that, Nene Leakes, the second part of her interview with Carlos King, former producer of Real Housewives of Atlanta, dropped the other day. And of course, all of her clips have been keeping the internet abuzz, because Nene is not shy with her opinions. She will let you know exactly what's on her mind. But something else has happened that has people kind of questioning what's really going on here. So it's not a secret that Cynthia Bailey and Nene Leakes were not friends, per se, on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. They weren't enemies, but what's that saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Maybe they linked up for that or so forth. And we know that Cynthia divorced her ex-husband, Peter Thomas, and they had a lot of issues that we saw play out on the series. Well, in Nene's recent interview with Carlos King, she took a couple of shots at Cynthia. She claimed that Cynthia tried to get her fired from The Real Housewives of Atlanta, and that Cynthia never would have made it on the show were it not for Peter. So, according to Nene, she said Peter was the one with the real star power, and it looks like, her and Peter have been hanging out, because she put on her story, and I'm not saying hooking up, I'm just saying hanging out. And she was at a restaurant, and there was a glass of champagne or some type of libation, some type of alcoholic beverage, we're assuming. And the caption said, bling, bling, bling. So today I was lucky enough to have lunch with boyfriend number one, right? And she pointed it at her boo. And boyfriend number two, honey. And the camera was pointed at Peter, champagne. And she said, B words are mad. So is Nikki, seems like some Nicki Minaj behavior. But anyway, is Nene just being antagonizing, or do you think she has a real friendship with Peter? And is all of this really just positioning because she wants Bravo to forget the allegations that she says she didn't make, but that some people are saying that she did, implying racism, to try and work her way back onto Real Housewives of Atlanta?
I think Nene is being Nene. This is very on brand for her. She is a pot star, and not even she knows how to get the crowd going, and she knows how to hook people in. Peter is there because Peter, according to Nene, I was a fan of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I always throw in a catchphrase from Real Housewives of Atlanta, like, the Todd thing. It's it's a scheme that Todd set up. That's from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. But Nene said that Peter is always in women's business, and he stays in women's business because he is messy. So that's why he's there. She called that a long time ago. And everything she said about Cynthia is true because Cynthia is boring.
She doesn't do it for you.
She is starless, just like Nene said.
Ooh, okay. So, Nene gave her dream cast, right? She included Candy in it, even though she said Candy's not a star either. So, who would be your dream cast?
Candy is, like she said, Candy is famous. She's known. But Candy is a star, though. Like, come on, let's keep it real. Nene, a lot of the stuff that, a lot of it is real, but it's shady, though.
I mean, so let me ask you: is there something wrong with truth with a side of shade?
No, I do it all. I do it all the time. I do it all the time.
So, but here's the thing: there are some statements that Nene made in this interview that are very truthful and giving her opinion on the state of the show. She wasn't necessarily wrong with everything, but I mean, she's indicated that she and Carlos King could potentially be working on a show. But do you think that's real, or do you think that she's angling, hoping that they can get something started? Because, I mean, she does make for good reality TV.
Yes.
But do you think that it's a case where she might have gotten a little bigger than what her star is, and now she's trying to work her way back to her roots?
No, because Bravo, they are not stupid. They know that if they brought her back, that they're going to make their money back and their views are going to go up. They know who the star is on that show, and it's Nene. If Nene went back on that show right now, everybody would be watching because that's what the draw was.
Okay, so do you think that they'll bring her back, though?
They will, because they're not dumb, and they're into ratings, and they're into money, and they know who brings in the ratings and the money.
Okay, if you could put together your dream Real Housewives of Atlanta cast, who would it consist of?
Wow. That's interesting. I would go with, I probably would go with the original lineup, honestly, minus a couple of people. I definitely would bring Phaedra back because
Phaedra's not the original lineup.
Well, she was part of the second,
the second
era,
original.
Yeah. So the second cast, but I would definitely have Crazy Kim in there.
Phaedra, Kim,
Nene, of course. I would keep Candy.
Candy wouldn't film with Phaedra though, right? But
see, that's the thing. Carlos, we all know he has something to do with that. He was the producer that fed that line. And Phaedra said this. They talked about it. He was the one that did it. So they all kind of have a hand in, starting mess for TV. That's what it is. So if people are smart and they're about their money, you would go into a scene with Phaedra.
Let me ask you. But we brought up Candy's very rich. She's famous outside of this.
Sure.
It's only enhanced it. And we will get your answer when we come forward. But do you think, because Candy's position is, you messed with my credibility, you said some things about me that are, really dangerous, and that she does not want to be in the presence of someone like that. That's not necessarily a wrong request. And like you said, she's rich, so she has enough money where is the check really necessary? We'll get Trent's response when we come forward. You were checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Need help with the job hunt? It can be challenging, but don't worry. LA County has your back. With a variety of available support services, you'll get the help you need while finding a job. We're here to help you succeed. Let's get started. Find out if you qualify at recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. That's recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. LA County and you moving forward together.
Contracts, and grants. This is Rambo, and I'm back August 5th. Contracts, and grants. I'll be at the Westin Hotel, LAX, Saturday, August 5th. Me and my guests are fast-paced in the contracts and grants. They only speak 6 minutes each. I have LA County, I have the city. I even have Everett, the CEO of Lindustry, coming to talk to you guys. And for the first time ever, I have Metro's Director of Certification coming. We average over 700 attendees, so you know the rules. Parking's about $15 with the event validation, event, coffee, snacks, all free, paid for by Rambo Industry. And yes, you can bring guests. So save your seat, DeonRambo.com. Listen, contract ready's only 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12. But if you get there around 9:30, I'll probably be doing some Q&As and things like that before the events I never get a chance to do. I honestly keep saying, I don't know what's more important for LA businesses right now than local contracts. So I'm back, Westin Hotel, LAX, Saturday, August 5th. August 5th. It takes 2 minutes to register. DeonRambo.com. Go register now. DeonRambo.com.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition, and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580, the show where we talk entertainment, sports, culture, and lifestyle, trending topics and headlines. I'm here with my contributor, Trent the artist, Trent Jackson, and he was just about to explain to me why he feels that... What were you going to explain to me?
Why Candy and Phaedra need to be on TV together.
That's
because
right.
It makes for good TV. There's nothing, people love seeing two frenemies or two people that hate each other go back and forth to see how they interact. People love drama. It's like Crystal Carrington and Alexis from Dynasty.
Of
people
course
tuned
they
in
do.
for that cat fight. And, you know, as much as Candy was vocal about how she felt, and we saw the back and forth as we did. Then we saw the reunion. Phaedra wasn't there anymore. Candy never sued that girl.
I mean,
So how much damage did her to her reputation?
but did she
it
not
do?
sue her because, that causes complications with production, and aren't there some types of agreements you sign and so forth?
It makes for TV, good TV, right? The
But
girls on Potomac sued each other.
right, but this is my question again. But Candy, of maybe not all of the shows, but of quite a few, seems to have in her personal life, more going on outside of the show, and more in general, just to kind of uphold or to pull together.
True. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Obviously, to your point, everybody loves to see, two foes come together and duke it out on screen or make peace, whatever the case may
And
be.
Phaedra has good one-liners. She's good for TV. I think all of them are.
Okay. Well, we'll see what develops with that. So our next topic, I guess, could be applied perhaps to someone from one of the many housewife shows that are circling around. We're going to talk about narcissism. So, most people, well, maybe not most people, but if you haven't been in a relationship with a narcissist, maybe you know someone that has, or you're familiar with them in your life, right? So narcissists do what? They gaslight you. They show a lack of empathy. They devalue you. They are one of the personality disorders that people say it's really hard to break. It's really hard for someone to break out of that once they have it, even with a lot of counseling. Not impossible, but it's just really something that is hard to change. So there was a debate, a conversation as to how someone becomes a narcissist. Is it something that you're born with, or is it more in line with something that develops because of your environment? So mental health experts say that the seeds of narcissism are implanted when you're in childhood, and that even well-meaning parents can inadvertently raise a narcissist, right? So what they said, that narcissism tends to develop in people that are in environments where there's a mix of overindulgence and underindulgence. She says that typically an overindulgence is one that focuses on status or money or appearance, how things look on the outside to others, the external achievements, and that on the other end, obviously, the underindulgence is that it teaches that there's a lack of teaching children about compassion and empathy and really developing their sense of self. And that is how you start off raising a narcissist. Doesn't mean that everyone will end up with it in those environments, but that's how it starts off. So according to mental health experts, there are three main ways that children grow to become narcissists. They're overindulged for the superficial items and things and accolades. They're underindulged with their emotions, or they experience some type of trauma or abuse. So, Trent, have you ever dated a narcissist? And do you think that it is something that people are born with, or that it is something that you can see developing in environments?
I believe that it's 100% unequivocally environmental. I think that factors of a lot of things that happen in childhood, just like everything else. It's the way that we communicate in the world, the way that we show up, the jobs that we pick. All these things have to do with how we were raised, for sure. And behavioral traits and personality traits is one of those things that we are shaped by environment, for sure. And yes, I have dated a narcissist. Why would you ask me that on air? I think we all have at some point. Yeah.
I don't know if I have. Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know if...
I think there are levels to it. I think we have extreme cases and then we have mild cases.
But do you not think that to a degree, especially now in this social media era, right, that everyone has a slight degree of narcissism to them? I mean, you think about our activities with social media. Think about what you do with Instagram. Because here's the thing, if it's environmental, right, and it's either an overindulgence on external factors, looks, accolades, things like that, then getting those likes, right? Having that social currency as validation is certainly an environment which could breed narcissism, no?
Sure, but I don't think everyone.
Not
Well, I don't think I think that I'll speak for what I just know.
okay.
I post stuff. Yes. Does a like doesn't make or break me. However, I think what's important is that you have the balance. So you have friends that feed you emotionally, or you're in situations or around people that give you the real and say, look, that's the internet. This is real life. Let's, break and keep it real with you. So there's a fine balance, and you don't have to worry about getting caught up in this world that really technically doesn't mean anything.
So when you're dealing with a narcissist, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, if they're made in childhood, right? I think we just discussed environment can create them in adulthood, right? Obviously, there's something that comes in later. What are your signs or red flags that someone that you're dealing with, whether it's friendship or a romantic relationship, might just be a narcissist?
Wow. I think the main one is when you are talking to them about something that requires some sort of level of emotional intelligence, and you get nothing.
So you don't, because they always say that narcissists are manipulative, correct?
Yes.
So isn't part of manipulation where they give you the push and pull tactic? Are narcissists do they love bomb at times and then pull away from that to get you to respond and bring that action forward?
There's different levels. I haven't experienced love bombing before. But I've experienced other levels of narcissism. Sure.
Okay.
But not love bombing.
So what do you do?
You walk away and go the other direction.
Do you really so you
yes,
like someone and you're like, I see the signs. So you're out immediately, no conversation?
Well, here's the thing. Once you start doing a deep dive in relationships and you see what the person's dealing with, and you have to make a choice. Jill, come on, you know what I'm going through right now.
Okay.
So you make a choice, and you have to walk away because at a certain point this person has not done the work to even be in a situation where they can respond appropriately. So you have to know when to walk away. And some people don't. I do.
You do?
Sometimes you go a little bit longer because, see, here's the thing. When you start to point out certain things that people just have no clue of, no understanding, never heard it before, and I'm using my examples. The last person I dated, this was a foreign concept to them. So them hearing how the things that play out in your childhood affect you in your adulthood, all these, the first time hearing this, so your mind is blown, especially when you start to unpack some of the things that have shaped you and created you to be this way. So when you are dealing with someone who's hearing information for the first time, they're, either they're trying to fix it and work through it, or they're staying, the same. And when you see that the person is staying the same, even you've had these talks, it's time for you to bounce, because people have to fix themselves and do the work on their own.
I agree with that. So let me ask you, is there a certain point do you decide, is it weeks, is it months, is it a feeling?
Sometimes it could be years.
that you decide that you want to make yourself vulnerable and open up about some of, everyone has things that happen in childhood, like you mentioned, that impact you into adulthood, that shape the way that you look at the world, how you explore relationships. At what point when you're dealing with do you make the decision to open up about those things? Is it as something happens, maybe something triggers you? Is there a certain amount of time where you feel like it's important to have that conversation so that you aren't, sort of, I guess, not wasting your time, but exploring something that just based off of where you are at currently, you guys may not connect? How do you make the decision when to showcase that vulnerability?
It could happen at any time. I think as any relationship or progresses and you guys get closer, it could be 2 weeks. I mean, it just depends on how real you guys are off rip. You could be sitting around and just having a normal conversation, watching something on TV, and something will trigger you that makes a conversation come up, because that's happened before. We're watching a movie and it's like, oh, well, you know what, my dad was like this, or my dad, and and that's how it happens. You could be at a party having a drink and friends are around. You never know when the moment is going to strike, but are you going to go there, or are you going to pull back? Or you really got to read the room and gauge.
Because the thing that's tricky when dealing with narcissists is that they gaslight you, right? So
Sure,
they will
yep.
take your vulnerability or something that you opened up to them about in a moment where you wanted to, get closer, and they will use it against you later. So do you watch for that, or you just proceed open heart no matter the situation?
Well, see, in situations like that, you have these now wait a minute situations. Now, hold up. Wait a minute. What's going on here? And there's only so many of those before it's like, all right, you know what? I'm not doing this, because either, that's when the real toxicity comes in. Because for me, I know that I need to get up and walk away, because the more I engage you and you being crazy and I'm going to be crazy, bows is going to start throwing, right?
What about if it's just a friendship though?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Friendships are relationships, and I think that we don't explore that or talk about that enough. Friendships can be as equally as involved and draining as romantic relationships.
Very true.
And I think as people, we don't talk about friendships. Relationships, in my opinion, are friendships. And I'm not going to be involved in an intimate, relationship with somebody if I haven't built a solid friendship with them first.
So let me ask you this: because people say that people tend to, and in some cases, are quicker to cut off a friend for something that with a lover they would let slide, or someone that they're dating.
It's equal for me.
It's equal?
Yeah. So a lot of so for instance, I have a friend right now. Our friendship is on the line. They're probably going to hate me for talking about this, but they took a screenshot of a message that I sent them the other day. And it was a personal message, right? It wasn't a nude or anything like that, but it was a personal message. Like, this type of information does not need to be circulated ever. It almost as if it doesn't even need to exist. But because I'm a friend with you, I'm trusting you with some information. And the fact is, I sent it to you on through Instagram, and it was a one-time view. And you saw that it was a one-time view. So in that one-time view, you took a screenshot of that. So right there, you moving funny. Now, okay. So there's levels to that too. So this person has moved funny before, right? It's like, I've given you a couple times, but now you've taken this a little bit too far. So now you need to go on the other side of town and keep that over there, because now I don't trust you. And if you're taking screenshots, and this is not the first time they've taken a screenshot, okay? They've taken it before. I just haven't said anything. So what are you doing with this screenshot? Why are you always this is getting a little...
It's getting a little weird.
Yeah, especially after I've been knowing you 15 years, 16 years. Have you been moving funny this whole time? Okay. Like, come on.
Well, when we come forward, we'll have more on this narcissist conversation. Pretty Brown Mimi in the YouTube chat says, why are narcissists always great lovers? I'm not sure. Maybe we'll ask Trent about that when we come forward. You are checking out
which ones you know.
You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is up next.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. There's new hope that the U.S. may soon get some information about a Black Texas soldier who was captured when he crossed into North Korea. The State Department has reached out to the reclusive nation to get an update. For the first time, North Korea has responded, but they did not give an update. There's fear that Private Travis King is being tortured. He was in the process of being shipped back to El Paso's Fort Bliss when he slipped away from the airport and made a dash across the border. And supporters of former President Donald Trump are being asked for donations to help fight off what the Trump campaign is calling the left's witch hunts. One day after Trump was indicted for his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election, his campaign sent out emails claiming the former president could face up to 561 years in prison because of the, quote, corrupt DOJ. And that's the latest. I'm Esther Dillard from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Hi, we're Comparing Insurance Agency. Never heard of us? We know. But to help it stick that our local agents are insurance experts, we're going to say local agent 3 times in the next 5 seconds. Local agent, local agent, local agent.
Find us at comparinginsurance.com.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations. And we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the Evan-On, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried new Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in 1 wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCEL scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 85% water, right?
85% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers.
If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods. Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
1580. You know, little John B. for us, bringing us in.
Yeah, I like John B. I met him once.
Did you?
Yeah, he's really nice.
And what happened?
We just said hi, and actually, it was the Taste of Soul a couple years back. I think 2018 or 19.
Okay.
And I know one is his backup singer, so I actually went back before the show started and was in his trailer. And not really nice guy.
Okay.
Watch from the side of the stage and everything. It's cool.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Getting down with the, well, John B. has brown eyes, but blue-eyed soul.
Yeah, he has a nice wife, black lady.
As he should.
Yeah.
I mean, that only makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Right. So, want to talk a little bit about Henrietta Lacks. You know, her HeLa cells, right?
Correct.
They significantly advanced medical science. They won basically a lot of why we are able to, certain medications that have been developed, certain discoveries.
Everything.
Basically everything, you know, are because of Henrietta's cells and what they were able to do with them through research. There was an HBO movie that was done with Oprah Winfrey about her story. And we know that not only was Henrietta not compensated for her medical contributions, her family wasn't later on, you know, as laws and rules adjusted. Well, that is no longer the case. The families recently won a lawsuit against a multi-billion-dollar biotech company for the continued use of those cells. So they will be receiving some type of monetary compensation. It wasn't available in the report that I had. I'm sure it will be out later. And they will get a little bit back for their relatives' contribution to medical science and history and all of those things. You know, it's like when you hear about stuff like this, of course, and you think about things like the Tuskegee Airmen and all of the social experiments, it's no wonder sometimes that there is such a large portion of Black people especially that believe in conspiracy theories, you know. I mean, not all of them make sense, but you have to believe in one. I saw a comedian say that, like, if you don't believe in at least one conspiracy theory, I might have questions about you, because how are you that trusting of the world and everything that's going on? So you got to have one. Andy, what say you?
I'm a strong conspiracy theorist.
Are you?
I get ridiculed from time to time, but that's just how my mind works. A lot of the times I blame Jesus.
Okay.
But
welcome to my world, Andy.
I'm with you, man. That's, you know, we right here. Gemini rising.
Chaos. I love it.
Did you run your chart, Andy?
We did it last week. You don't remember? So he's Gemini rising, Libra sun, Scorpio sun, and Libra moon.
Libra moon.
And Libra moon. Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
But the biggest conspiracy ever in the world, slavery. Like, that should be evidence alone. Like, how as human beings could slavery exist? It just doesn't make sense to me.
You know why it makes sense to me? And not that it makes sense from a perspective. In every culture you look at, there was some form of slavery. There's some form of captors and conquering of an enemy.
Even
the difference
in the Bible.
In the Bible, the difference that, you know, when we're talking about what happened here in America, I feel is that there was, after following a period of time, in most of these instances, where the people were allowed to re-enter society, basically, or, they were done with their servitude. Whereas with this, there's such a physical difference and all of the things that come along with that slavery conversation that it was allowed to fester, I feel like, in a different way. It was very different from the stories or the incidences of situations in other cultures where there was slavery involved, because usually they were somehow, I guess, maybe of the same homeland but divided, or arguing over different things. So I feel like because in some instances there wasn't always a physical aspect, that is something else that added to the brutality of it. That's just a theory I have. Andy, go ahead.
To be clear, because I kind of heard something like that and it was never clear to me, because I was curious to know how slavery was around the world. Apparently, it was, I guess, like it was a culture of slavery, but my understanding is that slavery outside of the slavery here in America, slaves to a certain degree was kind of treated a little bit better. Like, I mean, you were like a butler, kind of, sort of.
Exactly.
You could marry into the family, so to speak.
I mean, there was things like indentured servants. I think it depends, and a lot of that I feel has to do with them being the same, ethnicity or culturally or things of that nature. But we started on this topic because of conspiracy theories. So Trent, I have to ask you, what is the biggest conspiracy theory that you believe in?
That we've been getting cloned for years.
So you think that there are actual clones walking around? We know that people, things, animals, etc., can be cloned, but you feel that they are. Do you think that they are growing the clones from babies on up to an adult, or you think they're popping out full-blown, fully fleshed adult human beings?
I think that the technology has gotten better over time.
Okay.
I think that because we have AIs and 3D models now, that the technology has gotten so great.
Hologram.
Hologram. We won't be able to tell humans from the 3D AI pretty soon.
So like they have 3D printers where they're making houses from 3D printers.
Correct.
And objects and stuff. You think that they are 3D printing like
people
somewhere? There could be across the world a 3D Trent that's popped out.
There is. I believe it somewhere.
You Metaverse.
Yeah, somewhere.
The metaverse.
Yeah, that's why I don't give blood when I go to the hospital anymore.
Okay. So Andy, you
because
were
what y'all doing with all this blood?
you were full in on this. So did you ever check out They Cloned Tyrone?
I was just about to ask my man if he saw that. Yes.
Yes, and I love that movie because there were so many things that I think that is the real reason why Jamie Foxx got sick.
Because he did the film?
Because he did the film. Not because he's an actual clone, but because he did that movie.
You think that somehow because he was involved in a topic that deals with exposing government secrets, even though they are things that have been mentioned throughout culture, especially a lot in the past couple of years, you think his involvement caused him some type of harm?
I think because he laid out exactly what is happening and so clear, and it's so clear that like it's almost like people think that it's a joke and satire and it's going right over your head, especially with the chicken.
Yeah, the chicken reminded you of the Popeye's chicken sandwich from 2019,
Listen,
right?
Now I haven't eaten chicken in, I guess, what is this, year number 7? But I have theories about that too. So he laid out what is happening, the attack on black people, so plain and so clear that it was like, okay, wait, you can't do this. Why did you just do and it was like almost like a panic when it happened. Because see, we didn't know the content of the movie, but after I watched it, I was like, oh, this is the reason why he got sick. Because if this is not the layout plan right here, and people don't take it serious, they think it's literally entertainment and a joke. And you need to watch that movie again because it's going right over your head.
Well, shout out to Jewel Taylor. He wrote it along with Tony Rittmeyer. Jewel also directed it. It was his directorial debut. We will talk.
Andy is in that control room going off. Can you get on the microphone and say something?
When we come forward, no, for sure. When we come forward, I need to hear a couple of more of Andy's opinions about They Clone Tyrone.
Because he is in there going off.
He is. We did review it last week, and I told Andy and all of my VIPs that they should check it out, that there were some interesting theories put forth. So we'll get into a couple of those when we come forward. You are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
Meet Joe A, Joe B, and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with autosave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
I'm Dominique DePrima. We can all fall into the trap of mindlessly spending sometimes. I know I do it. But one tip for staying on track is when you have an impromptu purchase that comes up, try making a habit of taking a quick look at your bank account balance before you buy it. It's not just about seeing how much you have in your checking account. Just looking at your account might put the urge to make that impulse purchase into perspective and help you make better choices that'll benefit you for the long term. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives can help support you in reaching them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for education as a right, not a privilege. Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science is a private, non-profit, community-founded, student-centered university committed to cultivating diverse health profession leaders who are dedicated to social justice and health equity for underserved populations. CDU does this through outstanding education, clinical service, and community engagement. Recently, Charles Drew University made history by opening only the 5th medical school at an historically black university. Congratulations, South LA, and congratulations to the Dean of the medical school, Dr. Deborah Protho-Stith. CDU is now training doctors and providing $90 million in annual economic benefit to Watts and surrounding neighborhoods. To apply for medical school, get more information, or sign your child up for the Junior Doctors Saturday School program, visit cdrewu.edu. That's cdrewu.edu. At KBLA, we are dedicated to equity in education and ending healthcare apartheid. And we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked in VIPs to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. We were talking a little bit about the new Netflix movie, They Clone Tyrone. It stars Jamie Foxx, John Boyega, and Tiana Paris. Also, Kiefer Sutherland is in it. David Alan Grier makes an appearance. Jay Alphonse from P-Valley fame. Really a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fresh with some of its concepts. You know, if you haven't seen it, close your ears for 2 seconds. There are government officials experimenting on the black community, and they are using the music, the food, and the hair perm to basically control us, right? So I was asking Trent and Andy what their favorite or their most believed conspiracy theory was. But Andy had some commentary about the film as well. So I want to hear your take because I told you to watch it last week and I told you would enjoy it. Jill will not steer you wrong with that.
You know what? I wouldn't say that I enjoyed it.
It was disturbing for you?
It wasn't even disturbing. It was more like you're preaching to the choir.
Okay.
So I was just like, okay, I see what's going on. I really don't need to say anything. Trent, mic drop. Trent.
He lit it up?
He lit it up. He spoke exactly how I felt about that movie. It was just confirmation about
I appreciate
things going
that, Andy, because, sometimes I feel like that my opinions are way too strong and wrong. Or I say stuff and people don't get it. They just write me off to be the crazy person, and then someone else. I appreciate that.
You're
so
too
much.
woke, Trent. You're too.
Is that what it is?
You're too
Should I go
woke.
back to sleep for a few months and then wake back up?
No, we can't have that.
All right.
We need you to be as awake as possible.
Okay, I'll stay awake. Thanks, Andy.
So, there were lots of explanations as to why there are certain prototypes that we continue to see over and over in the Black community repeated, why those are the standouts, and generally where we are taking our social and political cues from, and how you can get caught up in the rut sort of the hood. And it's the hood in every city, everywhere. So I thought it was an interesting topic, and I enjoyed it.
I'm gonna have to watch it again.
You're gonna have to watch it again. You think you missed a couple things?
Just a couple of things, because I think it really was a blueprint for the people that know what's going on how to break out of the cycle, and I think we really should pay attention to that and take notes, and when the time is appropriate, put it into action.
Okay, you talking about a revolution or something?
Because it's coming.
It's coming. Okay, I hear you.
We can feel it boiling in LA.
There are definitely changes are coming, not just here in LA. I think anywhere that you look, people are obviously on edge financially, socially, politically. So to that degree, yeah, something is definitely brewing in the midst.
Can I leave my conspiracy hat on?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're talking about AI, right?
Yep.
Elon Musk just changed Twitter to X. What does X symbolize?
Unknown.
Unknown, the closing of something. Okay. What is it now? Now, inflation, now it seems like we're going into a recession. Like something's big is about to happen.
Yes, I'm gonna say it again. Excuse me. I said this on my podcast before, but economically it's the 80s.
Okay.
We're
80s, Reagan era 80s.
We're in Reaganomics right now. Climate-wise, we're in the 60s, going back to the 40s. Get ready for segregation. We're 2 steps away from it. Don't listen. We're going back in time.
So basically,
because we know
in a time machine.
Yeah, because cycles repeat. We know that.
They do.
So because we've had all these progressions, it's like it's time for it to reset, and we're seeing the reset happen. And I think most people are not ready for that reset.
Okay, so we're going to venture, since we're here, we're going to venture someplace kind of interesting. So astrologically, you know that America, right? America was born July 4th, 1776, right? And there is a thing called a Pluto returns, a Saturn returns, where basically you shift from one scenario, situation, I'm trying not to go too deep off into it, into the next, right? And it changes, it shakes things up. We also know that the average length of time of a dynasty is about, I think they said, somewhere between 100 and 500 years. Whatever it is, America's time is, we are switching into our Pluto return, and it is also time for our dynasty to switch. So potentially, both astrologically and financially, as far as the depths, the control, money, politically, and stuff like that, those 2 cycles are taking place. So maybe you both are on to something. Andy has something to add. I see it.
We're also answering if we're not already in the age of Aquarius.
We're here.
Which is the age of information or whatnot.
Yes, it is.
So hence, the internet, AI, and all this other type of stuff. But if you think they're not experimenting on Black people, Google and look for the definition of eugenics. And that's all I need to say.
Okay.
But it's evident because we've had the Tuskegee experiment. We know what happened, and we see what happens. There's all sorts of experiments. I think Hurricane Katrina was a social experiment.
Oh, wow. Okay. Listen. All right. Well, here's the thing. I said you have to believe at least one. Yeah. So everybody has.
We touch on a few of them.
We have. So
Okay.
And there it is right there. So, if you're in the chat or you want to give us a call and share your conspiracy theory, I'm curious to know, because I think, too, the ones that you believe in really give a certain amount of insight into your psyche to a certain degree.
Sure.
The things that you believe in, how you move and so forth. So
Yeah.
It's always interesting to hear, though. So 800-920-1580 if you want to share some bits with that with us, Andy.
I'm sorry.
No. We love this.
Nah, Mimi, I think she said something right at the end. So if I stop getting relaxers and eating chicken, we'll be fine, but I'm not giving up music.
I just responded to her.
Music is another one of them tools. I'm just saying.
I mean, well, here's the thing. We know that words mean things, right? We know that in the church, we see that people...
The church was another one in the movie.
The church was in the movie. The pastor, the drug dealer,
they're all in on
the pimp. They are archetypes that they say that are needed in the hood to keep it contained, to keep it in the state that it is. And you understand that to a degree because you're going to find those different types in every hood, no matter where you go across the world, really.
Yep.
So, like I said, there are some interesting concepts. If you don't believe in them full out, you at least can understand the thought behind some of them, and it's still an interesting topic to explore. And even if you don't believe fully, like there is something medically happened or dialed in or whatever, I'm sure at least in theory you believe that there are social experiments or conversations that allude to, let them take each other out. They'll take care of that ourselves and things like that. So it may not be a one-to-one, medical thing where they're drugging and injecting you up. But the environment certainly is such that dysfunction is, spilling overboard in many, many ways. When we come forward next hour, we're going to talk a little bit about Sukihana, the rapper. She had something to say when an old video of her surfaced that I think relates to some of the topics that we've been talking about earlier. We'll get into that. We are also going to discuss Summer Walker and Little Meech. It appears that they have broken up. Little Meech was caught live on camera, which brings up some privacy issues that we've talked about before, but we're going to explore a little bit on that as well. We're also going to talk about a recent race that took place and the team or the individual that the Somalian team put in for the 100 meters at the FISU 2023 World University Games and what social media has to say about that. And we'll get into a little bit about Lizzo and her documentary director and how she responded to the serious allegations that are being aimed at Lizzo. All that and more. News and traffic is up next. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 50.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network.